show, guys. Waiver Wire Week 3 is here. We got some big names here for you. Ready to dive in and talk a little bit about how crazy this week was. A wild week. We got some top performers, some crappy performers. I got on the show here, Jim, a.k.a. The Maverick. What's going on, Jim?
Hey, man, it was a rough weekend for me. Compared to last weekend, which was great, it's part of the agony and the ecstasy of fantasy football. This weekend for me was an agony weekend. It was tough.
I had a great week. I had a lot of guys. Jen did well. Gibbs did okay. I had Derrick Henry in the league, did okay. Justin Herbert did okay. Tank Dell did okay, even though he was on my bench, but I started Nico Collins because I got a little bit of both of those guys, but I should have started Dell. Either way, I had a good week. Jim, not so good. We're going to give you guys all the updates here and who to pick up on waiver wire from each position. Before we do, guys, head on over right now. This is very important. Go treat yourself at manscaped.com. The code you want to use is SHOWERLINE20. Get some amazing products. Jim, in my hand, I've got the Lawnmower 4.0. You could trim your balls with confidence without getting nicked and cut. And the Boxers 2.0. Amazing, comfortable underwear. So you can tuck your balls in there after you've shaved them. Really comfortable. They got other amazing products. And you can save, guys, on everything on the site. They've got cologne. They've got deodorant. They've got a beard trimmer. Everything you need. Go treat yourself. Manscaped.com. SHOWERLINE20 to save. Go do that right now. All right, Jim, are you ready to dive into this? So let's start off with every position. We got waiver wires, but again, what are kind of some highlights from your week? You said you had a bit of a rough week. Who kind of crapped the bed for you personally?
Well, who would have thought that the Kansas City-Jacksonville game would be a defensive struggle? I mean, what was the final score in that game? 17-9? That was just horrendous, man. I mean, Calvin Ridley did not perform. Trevor Lawrence did not perform. I have lots of shares of both those guys. That was very rough. And then also, what's going on with Cincinnati, man? That offense has just been stinking up the joint.
Terrible.
Where's Jamar Chase? What the heck is going on there? I don't even know what's happening there. It was rough. And then I happened to play, and on one team I was playing Daniel Jones. And of course, for 3 quarters, Daniel Jones was awful, like just tremendously awful. The guy ends up scoring like 34 fantasy points in the fourth quarter. I was just like, what am I supposed to do about this? It was just one of those kind of weekends. So I'm glad that it's done.
I played against Daniel Jones, and that's the league. So I'm in this one league where I was up I think I was up 100 some odd points, and then I crushed it. It's a 2 quarterback league. I had Jared Goff, believe it or not, and Jordan Love. They've been crushing it. So Jan, Gibbs, everybody went off. Drake London had a good game. I had Tank Dell started in that league, and he had Daniel Jones. And then, sure enough, he comes roaring back with him and Kyron Williams and Christian McCaffrey. So that's going to be a tight week. I think I may have lost a week in that particular league. Did well in my other leagues. I have a Derrick Henry Jan league. I started Nico Collins in that league. Drake London, Gibbs in that league did amazing in that league. So, and in regards to me, who crapped the bed is Dameon Pierce, man. What a letdown. Easy matchup. It seems like that Texans office can't get it going with the run game. So that's kind of been my Achilles heel, has been Dameon Pierce. So I may consider benching him moving forward at this point till he proves himself otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like a negative game script environment. Houston's just constantly behind. Yeah. And that does not portend well to running back usage. So, it's one of those things. And so, yeah.
All right. So let's go over this, Jim. Who are they picking up at this point? Again, I when I draft a team, I make sure that I'm self-sufficient. So I don't really have to go to the waiver wire. Everyone's running to get Kyron Williams, which I think he'll be great. Zach Moss, another guy. It's like, at the end of I've got so much RB depth, I'm good. Like everyone else is scrambling to get these guys. They had J.K. Dobbins. Cam Akers, your guy. I told you I don't trust that guy. He was a healthy scratch this week. Cam Akers, like what is going on with that dude, Jim? What is like that guy?
Oh, jeez. It's just this stupid drama, man. I've got to say, I'm very disappointed in what's going on with him and that offense. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. I mean, the dude's playing for his career right now, and he's just letting it crap the bed. He's not going to be in the league next year if he keeps this up. So
no, not at all. All right, so let's go over this here, Jim. So let's start with the quarterback position. At this point, I told you, anchor your team with an ace quarterback, get a good backup. Mine happens to be Justin Herbert with a Jordan Love backup. In another league, I've got Trevor Lawrence with a Brock Purdy backup, I believe. So I always make sure I have a backup. My 2 quarterback league, I have Jared Goff and Jordan Love as my quarterback. So hopefully that continues. But I'm good at quarterback. But is there any quarterback? I guess if Jordan Love's still available, some people saying he's still available in their leagues. Grab Jordan Love, grab Brock Purdy, Jared Goff as well. Is there anyone else maybe at quarterback that maybe?
Yeah, I mean, if you need a backup, right now my number one pickup would probably be C.J. Stroud, just because. Again, he's in a constantly negative game script, and so he's throwing the ball a lot. This past weekend, 384 yards and 2 touchdowns. Man, that's really good. And he plays Jacksonville next. So I think he would probably be my top priority pickup for a quarterback. But then you also got guys like Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder. Those guys had pretty decent weeks this past weekend. Those, I think, they're also decent backups. Maybe Joshua Dobbs too from Arizona. He did all right too. But
I saw that run. He looked really good. Now Dobbs finished as of right now, excluding the Monday games. Joshua Dobbs sitting 4th at fantasy points, 25.22. CJ Stroud, 21.46, finishing 11th. Desmond Ridder, if you guys are desperate, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 21.38 points. And Sam Howell finishing 13th, 21 points-ish, give or take. Yeah, man. So Howell, Ridder, Stroud, Dobbs, finishing top 14 amongst quarterback, beating guys like Dak Prescott, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields. It's unbelievable. Joe Burrow, man, I don't get it. These guys are losing. I mean, imagine you're the Bengals right now. You're sitting there say, I invested, we made Joe Burrow the highest paid player, and look at him now.
I know, $55 million a year. Jeez. I mean, come on, dude. Be worried. But this is also something that's always a risk. It's always in the back of my head is these guys, when they get the big contract, when they get that big contract extension, and when they're paid, they're not trying as hard as they were before. And they're trying to I don't want to get hurt. I'm going to play it safe. And maybe that's part of what's going on with Burrow. I understand he's still dealing with that thigh injury. It's weird that it's still lingering, a month and a half after he got it. But anyway, hopefully he's going to start to perform the way he was paid to perform, so
all right,
that's all I can say about that.
That's quarterbacks. Let's dive in real quickly. Do a couple breaking news. I just really want to talk a little bit about take a quick break in between this waiver wire. We're going to go to running backs in a second. I want to talk a little bit about news, some major injuries that happened. Saquon Barkley getting MRI at the time of this recording. He suffered an ankle injury. I'm imagining he's going to miss some time here because according to the source X-rays, which came back, actually they said they came back negative. He didn't suffer a serious injury. Actually, I'm getting here. So I'm assuming he's probably going to take some time off just to heal it.
Yeah. And I think the Giants have a short week this week. I think they're playing on Thursday, so I don't think he's not going to be in this week. But hopefully he'll be in for week 4. So
we talked about Cam Akers, healthy scratch. Who else got hurt? Dameon Pierce, lack of performance.
David Montgomery. I was looking up to try to see if any follow up had happened on that. Did you hear anything about what the nature of the injury was? Or
no, I think it was like a thigh thing. I'm gonna pull it up here. The latest I've got here, but it's not funny. But we had this conversation before. I called you before the game. I'm like, I'm not wishing injury, but I need Gibbs to get more play time. I'm like, someone's knees breaking today, and it might be Montgomery's. And sure enough, I look at the report now. David Montgomery suffered a thigh injury during week 2 and considered questionable return. That's what last I heard here. Leg injury. Either way, not good, because I think he was either carted off or I don't think he was on his own power there. This looks really good for Gibbs. Not so good for Jim, because you're a Montgomery holder. And I told you, if you're a Gibbs believer, believe in that one person. Do not get their backup. You know what I'm saying? But there you are, Jim.
They're not backups. They're co-players. That's they didn't pay Montgomery $6 million a year to be a backup. He's part of the offense. So yeah, I mean, it was nice to see that Gibbs did get more work this week. That's what we expected. As did Bijan. This is what we're expecting to happen. So hopefully it will continue to increase for Gibbs. Bijan looks great. He's been doing awesome. So super happy with that. So are we going to talk running backs now? Because
running back. Hold on, I'm trying to see if there's anything else in the news here that really popped up. It was Saquon. There's Montgomery. Devontae Adams' he was evaluated, for a concussion after week 2, but I think he's okay. Joe Burrow, his calf was bothering him. Again, we're talking about how bad they're doing, but Joe Burrow calf. And also I want to mention the Logan Thomas concussion. I don't know if you know this, but Kareem Jackson made helmet-to-helmet contact. I think he was already kind of being disciplined on his, unsportsmanlike.
Yeah, he did it last week too. Dirty.
So Logan Thomas, tight end, very unfortunate taking a hit there. So they got to clean that up. You can't be doing stuff like that. And, Brandon Cooks, again, we heard that before. His knee was banged up. And also, one thing I want to talk about is Breece Hall, man, the limited. Like, he came out and said, man, the reason we lost is because I only had four attempts, man. Like, that's brutal. Dalvin Cook fumbling, Breece Hall securing his position. So I want to talk about that in the news. I wanted to make a point of that because, again, I'm really excited about Breece Hall. Dalvin Cook paying $9 million to come in and fumble, looking lackluster. Now, mind you, they were playing Dallas's defense, a disaster and very tough to beat. So, I mean, you kind of got to, take it for what it is. Dallas defense is for real, but Breece Hall should have got more than 4 attempts, and that's probably why.
Yeah, absolutely. I started him, and I got 0.9 points from him, and just another example of just a poor performance. After last week when he busted out 159 yards, and it was a major part of the offense the whole time, and now they just didn't do anything with him this week, so I don't understand that at all. So.
All right. BS. Even like Quentin Johnson, you draft this guy in the first round and he's not getting any playing time. I think he got like 2 targets. Quentin Johnson, you draft a guy in the first round and you're putting, crappier guys ahead of him. It's BS. So I don't know. I'm thinking I'm going to bench Quentin till I believe he'll go. I think Williams or Allen is going to go down eventually, but we'll see. All right, let's move on to running backs here. Jim, who do we got here? I got your list here. Christian Kirk, right?
No, running backs. We're looking at running backs.
Running back. I'm jumping way ahead here. Okay, running back. Zach Moss is on the list here to start.
Zach Moss. What the heck? This guy has never done anything in the NFL, and he comes out and has that bonkers game yesterday. 18 attempts, 4 targets. I mean, if he's still sitting on your waiver wire, you got to get this guy on your team because that sort of usage is unbelievable. It's like, who is Zach Moss? He sucks. He's this terrible running back that's been terrible his whole career, and yet he comes out and he scores like 20 fantasy points yesterday. I was like,
but be aware.
I'm shaking my head, man.
This is temporary till Taylor gets back. I mean, this is not.
Yeah. Of course, it's temporary, but still, it's frustrating. And Deion Jackson, the other guy, completely unused yesterday. He was totally benched, and so clearly Zach Moss has a path to being the regular backfield running back until such time as Jonathan Taylor decides to return to the team. So,
and understand
we'll
Richardson was out. Richardson was out. You don't have the running quarterback.
That's true.
Opportunity,
but Minshew's still a decent backup. So he can still be effective. But I mean, Anthony Richardson looked so great yesterday. Holy cow, man! Getting those 2 rushing touchdowns. It's a shame he's going to miss some time because he got concussed. So
that's the problem with running quarterbacks. All these people are excited about running quarterbacks, and I'm like, especially rookie running quarterbacks, and you put yourself at risk because you don't know what the rookie's going to do. Then he runs a lot. I've always talked about this is why I've always avoided guys like Lamar. Your job is to throw the ball. I don't mind you running a little bit, but running this much, you are susceptible to injuries, concussions, putting your body at risk. You got to have a good balance. That's why I think Jalen Hurts is a perfect mix. Guys like Josh Allen, you got that good mix. You got to be able to throw. You can't be running on every play and exposing yourself. It's too risky.
Well, Hurts runs a ton, man.
He does. Right?
He ran for over 1,000 yards last season, and this past week he got 2 rushing touchdowns. They're definitely at a higher risk for injury than the pocket quarterbacks.
He's built better. Some people are just built better too, right? So maybe you're looking at the build as well. I look at Lamar and I'm like thinking, man, that guy. I mean, he's strong compared to you and I, but the guy looks like a twig on the field. That's a concern. He's lanky, right? I don't know. I get concerned with guys that look like that, and they're just like, you're this, like Hurts is built. Allen is built. I remember Andrew Luck. I was the Andrew Luck owner years ago. Guy was built. They're built well. So we'll see. I mean, anybody could be susceptible to injury. Like, look at Burrow. He's, the guy can't stay healthy. I don't trust him either. So again, it depends, right? All right, let's move on to another running back. Who else is worthy of a waiver wire pickup for week 3?
Well, certainly Kieran Williams was absolutely dynamic, and I can see why he is playing ahead of Cam Akers right now because Akers isn't doing crap. But he got 14 attempts and 10 targets. yesterday. I got to say, the Rams look way better than I thought they would look, especially since they don't even have Cooper Kupp on the team right now.
Yeah.
I thought they played extremely well, even though they lost to San Francisco, but still very, very, this is a very competitive team. I think they're, they look like a playoff contender at this point. And once they get Cooper Kupp back, I think they're going to be very, very strong. But Kieran Williams, definitely check your waiver wire to see if he's still on there. We got guys like Josh Kelly, who got 13 attempts and 1 target. Now, of course, if Austin Eckler's back, this guy would not be a start. And then as far as the Baltimore backfield right now, very much a mess. If I was to pick someone up, I'd go for Justice Hill. He got 11 attempts and 3 targets. That's kind of below my 15 opportunity threshold for running backs, but it's very close. He's got 14. Gus Edwards only got 10 attempts. So even though Gus Edwards was more effective on the ground, he got 0 targets. And so that's just not enough for me to ever start him. I would never start someone that only gets 10 rushing attempts. And the fact that he's not involved at all in the passing game is concerning. So I would go for Justice Hill if you're going to pick someone up.
That's who I was feeling in week 1, especially with Justice Hill. He was getting the goal line work. And Gus Bus, the years to Wouse were not well. I don't think any of these guys are great, but in an offense that, is really offensively potent and can get the ball down the field with Lamar and get some goal line work there for these guys. So, all right, let's move on to wide receiver here. Again, Christian Kirk tops the list here, but again, he should be, if he's available in the league, grab him. But it's weird because, again, it's Ridley's the guy. Kirk emerged, and everyone's telling me, Zay Jones. I'm like, no, Zay Jones, it's going to be rotating. I said this in my Patreon group. I'm like, should we start Zay Jones? I'm like, hold off on Jones because I think it's going to shift towards either Ridley or Kirk, and sure enough, it did. And that's what I was feeling, and that's exactly what happened. But unfortunately, I thought Ridley would have had more.
Yeah, the reason I put Kirk on this list is just because he was probably a frustration dump because he got a goose egg last week. That he might be available on your waiver wire. But yeah, 13 targets. He was the number 1 targeted receiver this past week. But you're right, it looks very messy right now. Because I think Ridley got 8 targets, and I think Zay Jones goose egged. It's like, okay, so who can we trust on this offense besides Ridley? And I don't think there is anybody else. It's going to be all over the place. But
it's wide receiver roulette over here, and
yeah.
But finally, here he is, Tank Dell. We've been talking about him since May. He's a waiver wire wonder. They talked about increasing his load, and I called you about something. I want to start Tank Dell. He's like, I'm not starting Tank Dell. And I'm like, let's watch him for a week. Sure enough, I watch over 20 points on my bench right now because of you, Jim. Because of you.
10 targets. Look, I last week he only got 3 targets. I'm like, you can't start a guy until you get 3 targets. But this 10 targets, very, very encouraging. I very much like seeing that. That's great. Congratulations to Tank Dell. Looking forward to seeing him really be an effective fantasy contributor this year. So
they told the truth. Hey, somebody told the truth. They said they're going to get him more reps. The team, they were talking about it. They told the truth for once. Hey, I'll take it, man.
Yeah, way to go.
All right, who else we got here at wide receiver?
Oh, we got old man Robert Woods, who right now is healthy on Houston. He got 9 targets yesterday as well.
Old man Woods.
Again, these negative game scripts, lots of passing going on. I think, these guys can be decent flex plays. These are decent flex plays here. And until Woods gets injured, I think you can continue to operate.
Until he gets injured. I don't trust that guy. If I'm going anybody, it wouldn't be Woods. But he's a safe flex play. Like you said, he's just boring to me, right?
Yeah, well, he is boring, but if you need someone in your flex, we've got injuries starting to pile up here. Bye week start in a couple of weeks. He's getting enough volume to be fantasy relevant. So you got to ride that. And if he gets injured, you just dump him back off onto the waiver wire. So there you go.
How about Mr. Tutu?
Tutu Atwell, 9 targets this past week for the Rams. Again, another excellent performance by a better than expected offense. I got to say, I'm very impressed with how the Rams look. And Atwell looks great, great volume. And again, another guy you could start as a flex, but go see if he's on the waiver wire and go pick him up.
Yep. And then Jaden Reed, rookie, Green Bay Packers with Watson out. And Watson, man, that guy is useless. And I thought, I didn't know that he'd carry the injuries he had from last year, but the guy, you're young, you're talented, you've got all off season, and then you're hurt. You're missing the first 2 games. Dude, Get it together.
It's a hamstring, man. Those things suck. There's just that soft tissue injury, and it just tends to linger. And I think Jaden Reed looks like he would be good to start as long as Christian Watson remains out. So 8 targets this past week. He looked great. So good for him. Now there were also some big performances from some other rookies this weekend. I don't know if you saw the stat line for Marvin Mims.
Mims.
Like it was like 147 yards and a touchdown, but the dude only had 2 targets. That's 2. He had 2 huge plays, right? But that is not a guy that you could ever start in fantasy football because he could just as easily get you 0. I mean, just as easily.
122 yards, Jim. 122 yards, touchdown, 4 what is it? No, sorry, 2 targets.
2 targets, 2 receptions. I mean, that sort of volume just isn't anything you can rely on for fantasy. I mean, if you want to pick him up to stash him on your bench, you can do it, and hopefully he starts to get some more work. But that sort of very, very low volume with a high explosive play, it's like a false guy to target. You shouldn't target those kind of guys because they will just disappear again. Anyway.
And you see the difference.
If you want to try from Marvin Mims, you can. I would not. I got to see more than 2 targets to want to target a guy.
And to put it in context, here's some context, okay? As of right now, Sunday games, Mims finished with 16th amongst, and this is his PPR, right? 16th amongst wide receivers in fantasy points, 20.3 points. Tank Dell, 20.2. But when you look at the targets, 10 targets for Dell, 2 for Mims, 7 receptions to 2, and then they both had the 1 touchdown. So same points, but there's way more targets to Dell, indicating that he's going to be more targeted. Now, mind you, if Sutton goes down or Judy goes down, then we have Mims emerging, but he's still the 3 there. No chance of him being a 1 really as of right now, unless Russell Wilson just starts gravitating towards him. But again, the 2 targets really is an indicator that it could be a 1-week wonder, and don't be sold by fool's gold here. Potentially.
Yeah, I mean, even Judy got 5 targets yesterday coming back from that injury that he's been dealing with. So, Judy will see more targets next week. Mims will probably see about the same, but he might just make another huge catch. Who knows? But it's just not enough for fantasy for you to want to start him because he'll be fool's gold. He's going to just completely disappear because guy with 2 targets, he either gets a touchdown or he's worthless. So, and it's more likely than not that he will not get the touchdown. So,
and we want to talk about that right now. Sorry to interrupt. Brandon Johnson, right? So people might jump onto the waiver. Oh, I get Brandon Johnson. He had 20 points this week. He's the wide receiver for Denver. Like, who is that guy? Who is that guy? Like Brandon Johnson, 2 touchdowns. Like, is not going to happen, guys. That's not sustainable. Again, I could be wrong, but I see this all the time. People are going to go, like, you're not going to pick up Brandon Johnson and just start him next week thinking he's going to do the exact same thing he did last week. You need to be aware of this, guys, and start using your noggin.
Yeah. How many targets did Brandon Johnson have? Do you see
I think 3.
Yeah. Again, you can't start players like that. If you want to pick them up to stash them on your bench and see what happens, go ahead. But absolutely, you can't start these guys.
And one was a desperation Hail Mary with time expiring in regulation, I believe, was one of those.
Well, there you go. There you go.
All right, so let's move on to tight ends here. I got a list here. I see your list here, but I want to add one that was on my team. I actually ended up drafting him in one deeper league where you could have a ton of depth on the bench. Is Tyler Conklin. I want to add him because he got a bunch of targets from Zach Wilson, and he looks like a safety blanket for Zach Wilson, who seems to be having an issue doing anything on the field. So Tyler Conklin, if he's available, I think he's going to be viable with Zach Wilson under center. What do you think?
I don't know how many targets he got.
It was like 5 or something like that.
Yeah, 5's a little low for a tight end, but he's certainly someone you could pick up. But the guys I chose all have at least 6 targets, and that's kind of like my threshold for tight ends. Is about targets. 6 targets.
It was 6, so he made your cut. 6 targets, I think 5 receptions, and
okay.
Yeah, so I mean that's good.
So definitely you can pick him up. But the number one guy you want to look for is Zach Ertz, who Ertz looks great. He's back, baby. He may be old, but he's back. 8 targets this past week, and this is the second week of very high volume for Ertz. So he's a guy that you can start and pick up and you can start him. So with that sort of volume, that's fantastic. Sam Laporta got 6 targets this week, which was
consistent.
one more than the week before. So that's also excellent. And Cade Otton, who remember, I'm like, oh, I'm out on Cade Otton. But then I started looking at the stats. I'm like, oh, this guy's on the field for every single play. His volume's going to increase. It did. He got 6 targets this week. Last week, he only got 3. That's also very positive. That's great. And certainly the Tampa Bay offense looks better than advertised.
Mike Evans looks good, man. Mike Evans.
Baker Mayfield is effective. He's a good quarterback. I can't say it. I just can't say it about Baker Mayfield. But they're playing well right now. So just go with it. And if you need a tight end, those are guys you should be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Laporta, and then when he's running with the ball, by the way, like he grabs the ball and he runs. First of all, he's making tough catches. Then he grabs the ball, runs hard after the catch. So he's reminding me a little bit of a Travis Kelce, man. I think there's a good thing going on here. I mean, he's still young, and I've got him on all my teams. So I think he's really, really growing. And I find that my team over, because I got a young team, really grew from week 1 to week 2, from guys like Tank Dell to Sam Laporta to even Bijan looking absolutely amazing, giving good ROI on that first overall pick. And now I see people doing posts saying like stuff like, oh, if it's like week 1, would you take Bijan first overall? And a lot of people are like, yeah, we would consider taking him first overall. Again, Eckler was ahead of him. A lot of guys were ahead of him. Now Bijan starting to look like the real deal. And if you watch his runs, he absolutely looks outstanding and super dynamic. Bijan as advertised. Love him. Love him.
Oh, yeah. He was a great pick, and I got him on 2 of my teams right now. And again, a very solid first round play. And he's been over 20 points 2 weeks in a row now. That's what you want from your first round pick, is some guy that can give you 20 points. So,
all right, guys. Well, great. Waiver wire, there you have it.
One more. We got defenses, a couple of defenses.
Oh, defenses. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was looking at the matchups for week 3, and these 2 defenses popped out at me. So the Cleveland defense is facing Tennessee at home, and the Kansas City defense gets Chicago at home. I think both those defenses, if you stream them, those are great pickups for week 3 for sure. So,
we have a preview show too, Jim. So we're gonna bring that back up for our preview show this week as well. So make sure you guys tune into that on Thursday. All right. All right, Jim, thank you, man. Thanks for the list. Thanks for the information. And yeah, guys, if you're 0-2, buckle up, guys. I mean, we still got lots of time. If you're 2-0, congratulations. If you're 1-1, pick it up, guys. Let's get another win. Yeah. So tons of time, guys. Relax. Take a deep breath. Tons of time. It's only 2 weeks. All right, guys?
Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You've got like 14 or 15 weeks before we get to the playoffs. And so it's like, there is a lot of time here, and these up and down weeks happen. It's just what fantasy football does. So, you know, it's not that the guys that were good at week 1 are not going to be good ever again. It all balances out, and it all ups and downs. And that's the way fantasy football goes. So
hang in there, guys. Lion mentality. We'll see you Thursday on here with Jim. We'll talk soon. I got a Studs and Sucks episode tomorrow. We'll talk soon, guys. We're out. Bye, Jim. Thank you, guys.
All right. Good luck, everybody, week 3.